Thomas the Tank Engine is a very near and dear series to me and so many others, and one of the big reasons for that is its characters. Thomas and Friends has some of the clearest and strongest character writing I've ever seen in a television series. Even in some of its worst eras, the show will have multiple characters who feel like themselves 100%. Fun fact, my favorite character is James, my second favorite is Oliver, and in third place is Henry. Henry's character arc and struggles were relatable. Henry had the locomotive equivalent of a physical disability, and through sheer willpower overcame it. He was friendly and kind, but in moments of weakness he would let out anger or arrogance or any other regular emotion, much like any person would. My biggest credit to Audrey's writing has always been how he would let his characters be flawed, and there is no character with as many flaws as Henry. Whether it's his design, his relationship with Audrey, or even the way Henry was depicted in later seasons of the show, the word you'll always hear with Henry is flawed. A character I like to contrast him with is Duck. Duck's character issue is about struggling to be perfect. Henry is just about trying not to be imperfect. It's like Henry's half the engine Duck is, just like how if you split an 8 in half, you get a 3. Henry is the number 3 engine on the Northwestern Railway. Henry was introduced in the third story of the Railway series, and Henry was the third character Audrey created for his story. And when Henry got rebuilt, he got turned into a black 5.
I suffered dreadfully, and no one cares. Rubbish, Henry, snorted James. You don't work hard enough. Henry was bigger than James, but smaller than Gordon. Sometimes he could pull trains, sometimes he had no strength at all. The Fat Controller spoke to him too. You're too expensive, Henry. You've had lots of new parts and new paint too, but they've done you no good. If we can't make you better, we must get another engine instead of you.
Another word I would describe Henry's arc with is struggling. Henry struggled to overcome his design and the ways others saw him, and in real life, Henry has always been a struggle for writers to get straight. During the run of the books in the classic series, Henry did have some really amazing moments and traits, cementing himself as a favorite character for many. The CGI series definitely strayed a bit from his older traits, making him more of a cowardly and quirky character, but slowly they were fixing him back to his old self. However, when the Big World Big Adventures rebrand was made, it was all thrown away.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Before we can talk about the moment that we all know and hate, I must talk about controversy. Controversy has met with the Thomas brand quite often over the years. But one controversy that always rears its head around again and again and again is the lack of female characters. So a big part of the Big World Big Adventures rebrand ended up being a balancing of female and male characters in its main cast, with new characters Nia and Rebecca. So, Henry and Edward were removed from the main cast. Edward received a subpar farewell episode in season 21 that was clearly rushed. It wasn't a good episode, but it was better than nothing. So, everyone waited for Henry's removal. We have arrived at Forever and Ever. After an average opening scene, we see Henry interacting with Percy and Philip nearby Gordon. In the next scene, Gordon snaps at Nia and Sir Topham Hatt reprimands him. It's generic CGI writing at its finest. Gordon tries to get Topham to reconsider having Edward moving away, and afterwards, this happens.
And Sir Topham Hatt says I can stay in the sheds in Vickerstown from now on. What?
Where was I again? Oh, right.
And with that, Henry is gone. Henry is gone. Written out of the show and is never heard from again. A cornerstone of the books, the show, the franchise, the brand, gone. Written out of the series that he was a part of since the beginning. And we didn't even get a proper goodbye. Just a gag, a moment so outlandish that you would expect a laugh track to play after Gordon freaks out. I wasn't that mad when Edward left. I went into season 22 with lowered but hopeful expectations, but when this happened, I stopped watching Thomas and Friends and have not kept up actively with the show since. Henry got 3 seconds. Henry got 3 seconds. One of the most important characters in the series, and he was written out in 3 seconds.
They got out just in time.
After this, Henry never speaks again. He's clearly not allowed to. And eventually the series ended, viewership dropped, and the publicity stunt clearly did not work. Henry was taken out, angering fans everywhere for nothing. To me, this is the most disgusting aspect of this episode, and it cements it as the worst of the entire series for me. But one more thing before I go. Henry was almost written out of the books by Audrey. Annoyed by the limitations in front of him and seeing only the negative in the situation as a writer, Audrey could have changed the course of the franchise. But instead, he worked with his limitations and made something excellent. Imagine how different things would be if he hadn't changed his mind. The epic, inspiring, powerful, emotional stories about Henry would not exist. Think of what stories we could have gotten in later seasons. It just makes you feel sick. But maybe one day, just like Henry did, the show will get better.
A crowd of people waited to see him arrive in his new shape. He looked so splendid and strong that they gave him 3 cheers. Beep, beep!